What? Normally it's beep, but I can't do that because it's not my phone. Because my phone has to... Shut up. Don't be like that. Okay. You've written this down. I am going over everything about the warm-up. Take the hint. Okay? Take the hint. Just in case you've forgotten, you, algebra on A day, have a test on Tuesday. Take the hint. Okay, get your haircut. Looks very nice. You're welcome. Nice. So, we know two things. One, we are traveling at 40 miles per 1 hour. Everybody agree? For how long? 6 minutes. For 6 minutes. Okay. How can I figure out how many miles that is?
By multiplying it by 6 over 60.
Yes.
6 minutes.
Yes, but let's not do that. Let's just figure out how far we travel in 1 minute first. How can we figure out how we're going to travel in 1 minute? Divide by 60. So really what we're doing is we're trying to get rid of the hours. We know that in 1 hour, how many minutes are there?
60.
60 minutes. This is called converting. If I divide a numerator with, let's say, the number 7, by the denominator with the number 7, what happens to my 7s? They become what? 1. If I divide in my numerator the word hours by the numerator, or by the denominator hours, what's going to happen when I divide out hours? It becomes 1. It's the same thing. We're dividing by the same thing. The reason why I have hours and minutes is because we're trying to figure out how many miles per minute. So now I've got 40 miles divided by 60 minutes. Take your calculator, do 40 miles divided by 60 minutes, and that should give me 6,700 miles per 1 minute. So for every minute, we are traveling 6,700ths of a mile. Have I lost anybody there? I love that you're all writing this down. Very good. Still with me? Okay. Now, how do we figure out how far we actually traveled in the 6 minutes? That's it. We multiply it by 6. So get out your calculators. I mean, I think I have the answer because I memorized. But double check my work. We should have 4 200 miles in 6 minutes. Does everybody agree there?
Yeah.
Have I lost anybody? Okay? So, now that you've seen this, set it up for the 50 miles per hour. So with your partner again, talk it over, set it up for the 50 miles per hour. I'm going to give you 1 minute. Go.
Okay, so 50 miles over 1 hour. And then I guess it's times. And then times 1 hour over 60 minutes. And then 50 divided by 60 is 8,300. So 8,300 miles over 1 minute times 4 minutes is 83.
Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Don't jump. Lainey, don't jump. Time! Perfect there. Okay, so here we go. What do we get? How many miles did we travel in those 4 minutes? Jason, what do you think?
3 and 3,300 rough 10.
3 and... Okay, so we're rounding though, because it...
Oh, so 32.
Is that what it is? 3 and 3200ths? 3 and 3200ths miles in 4 minutes. Okay, well that's pretty easy. So now we've got this. Can we figure out how many miles we went? Sure. We can take 4 and 200 plus 3 and 32 hundredths. That gives me 4. Should give me 7 and 34 hundredths miles traveled. Have I lost anybody there? Okay, so I hate to say this to you. That was the easy part. That was the easy part. If I were to make a graph based off of this, what two things are we comparing? What two things are we going to compare? Come on, come on, come on. Go ahead.
Time, miles.
Time and not just miles, but a better word for miles. Distance. So we're comparing time and distance. Okay. This may or may not work because well, maybe it will. This would be awesome if it does. Nice! Hopefully you have this all written down because you're going to need it. Okay. So here we go. So this time, we are still going to travel 40 miles per hour for 6 minutes. We're still going to rest for 4 minutes. This time we're going to go 50 miles per hour for 7 minutes. But here's what's happening. Here's our house. This direction is north. This direction is south. You're going to make a graph based off of this. We are traveling north for the 6 minutes. Then once that 6 minutes is done, we're resting, and then we're going to travel south for the 7 minutes. You've already told me that we're talking about distance and time. But now we're talking about distance from what? The house. So it's going to be distance from the house versus time. Make a graph. Talk with your partner. Go. Remember, that graph needs 3 separate things. You need to label it. I'll give you about 3 minutes. Remember, you're on video, so be smart. Let's go. When I talk about a graph, I want a number line. We're comparing 2 things, which means it's going to be a coordinate graph. So we're going to have 2 things. So the way that I'm looking, how can I have negative 10? Because this doesn't make much sense. You understand what I'm saying? You can't have that negative time. It's just time with respect to distance. And we know that we've traveled for at least 17 minutes. So I'm going to kind of just help you. This should help kickstart. A lot of you are doing fine. This is time in minutes. This is distance in miles. And we're going to say distance from home versus time. Keep going. I'll give you about 1, maybe 2 more minutes. Okay, so what's the farthest that we are from home? At any point, what's the farthest that we are from home? Well, we went north, right? How far did we go north? We knew this from the original question. We're going 40 miles an hour for 6 minutes. How many miles did we go? Okay.
4 and 200 miles.
4 and what?
200.
So I'm not going to make a very specific graph right now because you can fill yours in. But here's 4 and 200 miles. And I go from home to there. This is in 6 minutes. Then what happens? What do I do for the next several minutes? Jason?
You rest for 4 minutes.
I rest, which means I do nothing. So I'm not farther away, I'm not closer. Well, we know 50 miles an hour is 83 hundredths per minute. And then we're moving for 7 minutes. So I'm going to take a calculator. I'm going to steal yours. Is that right? So I'm going to do 83 hundredths times 7. That gives me 5 and 81 hundredths of a mile. So wait a minute. What's happening? Well, if we're heading back south, I've gone 4 and 200 miles. And now which way am I heading? Back towards what? Oh, back towards the house. So now I'm heading back towards the house. But do I stop at the house? No. And then I go up a little bit farther. Why? Because I traveled 5 and 81 hundredths miles. Everybody still with me? So the only other time that we know right now is this, which is 17. Because we traveled for 7 more minutes. Have I lost anybody on the graph? Now, this is where it gets the tricky part. And you're like, wait a minute, Mr. H, this wasn't the tricky part? No. When do we pass the house? Ooh. When do we pass the house? Well, this is where it's going to involve a little bit of this converting, trying to go from miles per hour to minutes. We know that we are 4 and 200 miles away. We need to know how many minutes it takes. We know that we have to multiply this because we're trying to get minutes. So we need minutes to be in the numerator. So if we're trying to get rid of miles, what do you think is going to be in the denominator? If we're starting to travel back towards the house, which number will be in the denominator? So we have miles in the numerator and denominator. Well, which action is this? Which one of these things is that portion? But 50 miles per hour. So now we multiply. We're moving at 50 miles. So I'm going to steal a calculator. I'm going to do 4 and 200ths times 60 divided by 50, and I get 4 and 824 thousandths minutes. Because the miles are gone, that leaves me with minutes. Well, how can I change 824ths to seconds? What do you think we're going to multiply the 824th minutes by to get the seconds? Jason?
60.
By 60. Multiply it by 60 to get the seconds, and I believe that gives me 49.44.
49.44.
Oh my gosh, I'm crushing it. So we know exactly when we pass our house. We know that it's taking 4 minutes, so that's 14 minutes, and 49 and 44 hundredths seconds is when we pass the house. I'm telling you, if this, try it again. How do I want to work this? If this were to be a test question, my guess is you wouldn't end up with 49 and 44 hundredths. You would probably end up with a nice clean answer that's a little bit easier to do. Take the hint. Questions on any of this? Anybody? Bueller? Bueller? You don't know that reference. It's all right. Your parents will get it. I hope your parents watch this video. Cool. Throw it again. Questions? Dude, so creepy.